What's up, Heather?
What's up, B?
Heather, today we drink history. Aged, refined, prestigious.
Wow, really sold that. Somehow, though, we're going to find a way to mess it up.
We're professionals.
We're something.
Now, speaking of professionals, today's episode, being it's a Wednesday, is brought to you by Happy Endings.
They really are professionals.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the only place where bourbon lovers and beer snobs can peacefully coexist, united by their shared love of alcohol and questionable life choices.
You fit right in.
That's my place.
Where your pint glass runneth over, and the only thing drier than your humor is the IPA selection.
Shakespeareth, you are noteth.
Yeah, well, your script writing isn't exactly Quentin Tarantino.
You want me to add gangsters and some random violence and the crazy eights?
Yeah, sounds fun.
Well, we're getting an X
Actually,
rating.
How about you add bourbon? And getting to the point. This episode is our Hoppy Wednesday episode, where we bring you bourbons from Damien and Lydia's private collection. They are the owners and proprietors of Happy Endings, the Southeast's largest bourbon bar.
And if you've seen any of our other Wednesday episodes, you'll agree with us that they have a large and diverse selection of bourbon, whiskey, and tequila. They also have the area's largest selection of unique 4-pack beers. So go on in, see them, and talk to them, and tell them you're a part of the Tortured Bourbon family.
Probably won't help you at all, but it can't hurt.
It won't hurt us.
We have added all their information in the description below. And if this is your first time, welcome to Tortured Bourbon. To all... You sound like you wanted to add to that. He was just really excited because we're about to talk about social media, and he just gets so excited when we're going to talk about social media.
You've got me nailed.
Pinned it. First off, though, to all of our subscribers, new or old, thank you. We do this show for B's therapy and for filling my bucket with your attention. Who do you think wrote that, me or B? But really, thank you all for coming back. If you're new here, this show is about bad choices. And
I made one.
You got jokes.
I got jokes.
They're not funny, but you got them.
Well, I mean, you got something.
It's also... Do you want me to talk about what you got?
Love's what I got. Don't start a riot. You feel it when the dance gets hot, hot. Loving. Anyway.
That's what I got. I said, remember that. Okay. You also might hear about our unpretentious take on bourbon, but it might take us 5 to 20 minutes to get there. But if you're here, please go ahead and click that like and subscribe button.
If you're still with us, go ahead. It's worth it now. Now, if you want to add the Heather's Millennial Happiness, just like a little blonde floating in the sky, why don't you follow us and interact on our socials? Heather loves to hear from you, and she tells me all about it.
I'll do that.
Yeah. And truly, we do want to hear your ideas for our shows. We recently actually did our first full viewer request.
Yeah.
So we really
and it was
enjoyed
really fun.
Yeah, we had a great time. So give us a follow and let us get on to the bourbon, which is what this show's Tortured Bourbon.
Oh yeah, sometimes we forget this part and we get stuck here torturing each other.
We're definitely tortured.
I feel tortured. All right, y'all, switching gears. Welcome to History with Heather, the part of the show where I educate you and B continuously interrupts me with ridiculous nonsense.
Rude. Accurate, but rude.
I feel like it's more accurate than rude, but anyway. So tonight we're going to talk about Parker's Heritage. It's a tribute to Parker Beam, yet another Beam in this bourbon world. They're everywhere. So Parker Beam is the legendary master distiller of Heaven Hill. We've heard of them before. He started the distillery back in 1960.
That's when gas was 31 cents a gallon. The Beatles weren't even a thing yet.
Wow, that's a really long time ago.
Yeah.
That's the year my dad was born. So over the next 5 decades, Parker helped shape Heaven Hill into a bourbon powerhouse, crafting everything from Evan Williams to Elijah Craig. But unfortunately, in 2010, he was diagnosed with ALS.
And frankly, because bourbon people actually care about each other, Heaven Hill created this series in his honor. A portion of each bottle sold goes to ALS research.
Right, and to be quite honest, this is a lot better than the Ice Bucket Challenge, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And basically it means you have an opportunity to drink good bourbon and do something good in the world.
We're philanthropists.
We're basically Carnegie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, now let's get to the whiskey.
We promised to do that 5 minutes ago.
We did.
All right, so Heather, tell us about this first one we have here, which may or may not be straight on the barrel. There we go.
Well, let's make sure it is.
Okay.
I don't want you to be stressed out. So first up, we have Parker's Heritage Heavy Char Wheat Whiskey. Now, since it's a wheat whiskey, it's at least 51% wheat in the mash bill, and it means that the wheat replaces rye.
Yep. The rest is 37% corn and 12% malted barley. So this should be smooth, sweet, probably rich with oak from a very heavy char, which is kind of typical of most Heaven Hill products.
Mm-hmm. It's 122 proof, so brace yourself. This is a heavy hitter to start with.
Yeah, it's going to wake you up. Now on the nose, we should get caramel, toasted marshmallow, dark fruit, and some smoky oak. So I'm basically in heaven.
Oh, wait till you hear about the palate.
I'm
We're
waiting.
expecting...
I'm right here.
It's an expression.
Oh.
Uncultured. On the palate, we're expecting vanilla, brown sugar, baking spices, and a rich, lingering finish with some smoky depth. Yeah, tell me that isn't right up your alley.
It is, and it's in this lovely bottle with this lovely tan little...
It is. So
label.
I'm going to guess the W, producer Katie, stands for wheated. Smells like a wheated bourbon.
Except most wheated bourbons we've had are not 122 proof.
No, it's high for a wheated, in our experience. But I still smell the classic butterscotch caramel. It does have some smoke on the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it should at 122 proof. It should actually
Maybe
have
that's what
smoke just coming up from
it's like
it.
a cauldron.
Yeah.
It should be smoldering.
And I guess you said you got butterscotch.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the caramelized toasted marshmallow, lightly toasted, not heavy toasted.
All right, you ready to taste it?
Yep.
There's the 122 proof. So I'm gonna be weird, and I'm gonna start with the finish
You're gonna be weird.
for a moment.
You're gonna start. Oh, okay.
It's so rare, but I'm gonna start with the finish.
Who knew?
The finish isn't as sweet as a lot of the wheated bourbons that I've had. The sweetness hit me more up front than at the end. Is that your contemplating look?
That's my. It's 122 proof. I'm going to spin it a little bit.
That's a good idea.
Now I did go ooh because there was
You did.
something I liked.
What did you like?
The taste.
Thank you. I know what in the taste.
The sweet was up front. Mm-hmm. It heats up nicely. It's chewable. Mm-hmm. A lot of wheat bourbons are not chewable. Mm-hmm. And then the punch at the end had a nice dryness to it.
So you described that really well. I like how you articulated that the heat builds. Because it's not a sudden hit. It builds up nicely. And not overpoweringly. Not in a distraction from the taste.
That buildup is baking spices. I would not call that pepper. I would call that baking spice. The spice is baking spices. Mm-hmm. And it builds on the tongue. Mm-hmm. And it's chewable at 122 proof. This is lovely.
The mouth feels great too.
Yeah.
It coats the tongue. Like B said and like I had said too, I think for both of us the sweetness hits up front. Yep. And then like you said, the heat and the baking spices sort of build. That's a solid wheated bourbon. I mean, it should be. It's like $175.
$175 with a portion of that going straight to ALS funding.
Which means it makes me happier to spend that.
So would you rather spend... Well, we're going to get into this with each one of them, so we'll start with this. You can spend $175 on that. Part of the portions are going to ALS. We can spend $175 on a Weller that really costs $50, and the portions are going to Jim Bob.
Right. I would rather spend it there.
For a wheated bourbon, it has a nice spice.
It has more spice than a typical wheated bourbon. Absolutely. I think I know what you're going to rank it, but I'm not going to say. For me, it's a very high hush your mouth. If you'd like to be a patron for us for very specific things, if you want to send some WD-40 for our chairs, we'll happily accept it. This is when B starts reading the back of bottles.
This is one
That's when I know it's serious.
consisting of only 75 barrels.
That's small.
Each was charred for 1 minute and 30 seconds, which would make it a level 5 by their definition,
Ooh.
as opposed to our traditional 40 seconds, level 3. Yeah, so I mean, and no one has a. There's not an official. This is a level 4. This is a level 3. So what they're saying is it's the highest char they use. So so most places call that a level 4. They call it alligator char. Wild Turkey calls it alligator char or
A lot of places
char.
do.
Yeah, so it's heavily charred. I think it does that to balance this wheat.
That's a good word. The oak and smokiness from the heavy char does balance the sweetness of a wheated bourbon well.
And it has a lot of depth. I mean, wheated bourbon doesn't always have this much depth.
That's a very good point.
So yeah, it's a cock of the walk.
It has more depth than the sweet wheat we had recently, which
It's
we love
fantastic.
that one.
But yeah.
It has a little more depth. It has way more baking spice and
However, I think this lends itself to less clientele than the sweet wheat.
it's going to be more polarizing.
Yep.
The sweet wheat is going to be very pleasing. Maybe it's that design and initial name from Woodford. I'm not sure, but so this is up there with Weller 12 for you as far as wheated bourbons.
Might be better. And if, and only because it's so rare that I've tasted a wheated that was that complex. Well, it's not a wheated bourbon. This is a wheat whiskey. Let's back up. This is a wheat whiskey. So they're able to do it a little different. If they were still making a straight bourbon, it would have to be 51% corn.
Right.
So excuse me, it's a wheated whiskey.
So they put
but
more wheat.
Still.
Yeah. Well, and I've noticed.
You can call it whatever you want. I don't care.
I noticed too that what you just said.
It's straight wheat whiskey.
It's straight wheat whiskey.
I think we should make more straight wheat whiskeys. Who's with me?
Do that. That's our niche.
We're just going to run right out.
Do you have some stuff that's been aging for 10 and a half years out back that we could just...
That was made with that mash bill? Yeah, I just happen to have that out back.
So I feel like...
Right next to my Pharaoh's tomb and, a bunch of other stuff I just keep that everyone has in their backyards.
It's right there, hanging out.
Part of the Titanic.
The money tree.
Yeah.
It's all back there. Do you have the Ark of the Covenant back there?
That's in the closet.
Oh, you keep that inside just to make sure it stays.
Well, I mean, you don't want that thing opening up.
You don't want the face melting off. Yeah, it's messy.
No.
It's very messy.
That's a lot to clean up.
You want me to talk about the next bourbon?
I mean, if we really want to sit here and have a therapy session on my feelings, we can. Katie can pick up the microphone and we can all share. She's going to need more tequila, though.
All right, next up, we have Parker's Heritage Single Barrel 11-Year Bourbon. This one follows a more traditional mash bill. 78% corn, so that's pretty high corn. 12% malted barley and 10% rye.
Well, in this case, there's still, you got more malted barley than rye, and a lot of times it's reversed.
It's reversed, you're right.
It should be full-bodied, probably because of a little more barley. Sweet, a lot of corn. A little spicy from that rye. This is a classic Heaven Hill profile.
We haven't had our regular Heaven Hill in a while.
You mean Elijah Craig?
No, like Heaven Hill.
Oh, Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've not.
No. I call that our regular Heaven Hill.
Okay,
I don't know
well,
why.
they're
I think
both-
it says it on the bottle.
They're both, yeah.
Yeah.
I would assume,
So this one is also coming in at 122 proof. So it is also not messing around.
All right. Now, on the nose, we should get vanilla, honey, butterscotch, and oak, and maybe some of John Wayne's very own bridles from his saddle.
So leather.
Yes.
For all that leather we've smelled and tasted over the years.
I chew on leather daily.
Every day. It's good for you. Protein, right? Sure. For the palate, we're looking for caramel, toasted nuts, dark fruit, and a long, spicy oak finish.
How long is this aged for? 11 years?
11. Mm-hmm. Neither of us left any of the weeded to compare the smell or the taste. Oh, well. All right, honey is definitely there.
Dark honey. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that is that really a thing? I mean, there's so many different types of honey.
Yeah.
But you see some honey that's darker and and there's a darker honey smell to this to me.
I think that's true. A little butterscotch. More butterscotch than caramel on this one. You ready to taste it?
Yeah.
Always. There's the nuts.
There it is. Oak finish. All right, so you definitely get caramel. That's an amazing description. Kudos to their website or to the research, because it got caramel. Then I got
Nuts.
toasted nuts. Then I got dark fruit. Now then I got a little peanut, but then I got a long oak spicy finish.
Yeah, the finish is definitely that long spicy.
Yeah, we could sit here and debate whether or not the toasted nuts or the dark fruit came first, but it's almost
linear. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say this when you chew it long.
You feel the 122 proof?
122 proof does fill your mouth. But you do get the sweetness, and then you get a nice dry.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. That's solid.
All right, rate it.
Hush your mouth. I'm not throwing cock of the walk down. I don't know. I'm stingy tonight. I'm keeping my aces close to the chest.
So I'll match that, because I thought the first one was very unique as a wheated.
You're really good about kind of emphasizing if something is very, very good, but then it has some kind of cool, unique quality.
Yeah.
You'll emphasize that and put the cock of the walk there.
But this is
if you like bourbon, you're not gonna be disappointed.
Well, I mean, if we took this and the 12-year Knob Creek and the 12-year this or that and the other, I don't know, the 13-year Widow Jane,
the 12-year 1792.
I have a feeling that this might win, and then we'd be like, well, it's cock of the walk.
It's going to be up there.
But yeah, I'm saying it might win. And
You're
then
saying in a comparison.
We might rate it higher. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we just had something that was phenomenal, so it's hard to go, well, that's phenomenal. It's all phenomenal. So I think, it's at a
They're both
disadvantage.
delicious. Yeah.
We should have tasted it first, then we give it a fair shake.
We'll just have to taste it again one day.
One day. All right, so.
All right. So finally, we have the Parker's Heritage double-barreled blend.
And it
is expensive.
No. So the wheated to me looks like a nice darker bourbon, but still bourbon. But it's not bourbon; it's wheated whiskey.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Now then, the single barrel looks like a single barrel dark bourbon. I mean, it really is, but
It's
a
got
darker
some age
one,
on
right?
it, yeah.
In fact, think the 12-year 1792, maybe
Yes.
even a little darker than that.
Yeah.
Then
We have molasses.
we have molasses.
You know what the color in the bottle looks like? We have,
Stag.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it looks like that.
Yes, it looks like stag.
All right.
But there's no stag.
Stag.
All right. So on this one, this is a mix of 13 and 15-year bourbon. So it's got some age on it. It should have some serious oak and depth because of that. That's an understatement.
Now, this is 132 proof. So if we don't like it, we can stay warm. We can light any fire we want. Yeah. We can make char. We can run my car.
I think if we just rub sticks near it, it's going to ignite.
We could probably power a small town in North Carolina.
Let's go. We might need to tomorrow.
Never know.
So on the nose, we should get deep caramel, dark fruit, vanilla, and heavy oak. Let's do a smell on that one first.
Dark
right.
fruit, vanilla, and heavy oak.
I'm going to have to swirl a minute and get past the 132. There we
just
go.
Hangs on the
There's the deep caramel.
glass.
Oh, yeah, it coats it. It coats the glass. Yeah, I'm getting the caramel. The dark fruit is there, too. For me, the caramel, the fruit, and the heavy oak mask the vanilla just a little bit, because vanilla is such a subtle... But vanilla and caramel can be so hard to distinguish sometimes on the nose.
Well,
I just heard myself say that, and a year ago I could not imagine myself saying that, sitting here swirling a Glencairn glass. Vanilla and caramel are often so hard to distinguish.
on the palate, you should expect some rich toffee as opposed to poor toffee. Baking spice. I mean, if it's $300 a bottle, you should get rich toffee.
Yeah.
Baking spice, dark cherry, and a long, intense oak finish.
Ooh, you ready? It's gonna be spicy.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. I have a thought.
Okay, go ahead.
I prefer the forward taste of the other two to this one.
Okay.
Pretty easily.
I bet you thought it was a little bitter.
Yes. And then it is you're gonna know you're drinking a high proof bourbon. There's no getting around that.
So my take, I guess, is a little different than your take, and I'm surprised by this because you like dark chocolate more than me.
I do.
Significantly more. It's not my favorite of the three, but I do not dislike the beating taste. I like that it's a little challenging. It actually matches to me the profile of what it looks like.
Okay.
And I'm expecting a lot of oak. And what I'm tasting is a lot of oak. I'm tasting a lot of oak up front. I'm tasting a lot of oak out back.
It carries through.
Yeah. And there's subtle sweetness with more layers of oak. I think there's something wrong with me because I actually thought that the straight was a little baking spicy or heavy.
No, I think it was too.
I think the oak has calmed that down quite a bit. I think it actually drinks a little smoother than this one, if that's what you're looking for. Now, does it drink smooth like a wheated
No.
Maker's Mark? No,
It's not Weller 12.
Yeah, that's not what I'm going with.
But it's not trying to be.
But what I'm saying is that if you take this to me and this, I find the baking spice in the straight to be more pronounced than here, but the oak comes through
Yes.
heavily in this.
So this has a little more heat to me, and I don't mean heat spicy. I mean like proof.
You mean proof.
Ethanol.
Sure.
Yeah. Number two, I think the oak is what is giving me a little bit of that. And we've talked about this before. Like for example, when you heavily caramelize sugar, like on the top of a creme brulee, when you basically burn it, there's a very, very, very small sweet spot where it's still sweet before it gets bitter. And for me, this one almost crosses that line a little bit. I think it's so oaky. And then it almost leaves me with a citrusy bitter feeling at the end, like a rind. Now that said, it's a really good bourbon. I'm not saying it's not. It wouldn't be my go-to flavor profile. I would drink, if I'm going this high a proof, I would drink Stag every day.
Yeah, and I get you. This is filling, but as for mouthfeel, it's got a lot.
Yeah, you're right.
You're right. There's
Well, it's molasses.
I mean, there is alcohol in there. I mean, I will attest that there is alcohol. I'm just saying that the oak mutes some of the spice. And I mean, there's some 15-year-old bourbon in there.
Well, and again, with a lot of these that we have found that are older, the longer it sits, the more I'm able to get past some of the oakiness and the age.
And a year ago, a 12-year oak was a little too much oak for us.
It had knocked me out.
And now we think it's
Phenomenal.
smooth and great and cock of the walk or hush your mouth.
Yeah. So I have to say with this one, that time I tasted it, kind of chewed it a little, let it linger. You had to.
You had to let it linger.
I had to. The bitterness almost turned into more of a coffee bean. Coffee cocoa bean. Yeah.
On the back molars. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's coffee bitter.
Yes.
It's
Which I love coffee.
Yeah, so what's wrong with you? You should think this is the greatest thing ever.
We started with a wheated that was 51% wheat. So we went from sweet. We should have started with this one. It works in my head, okay?
Okay, whatever.
Okay, it works up here, all right? I've enjoyed it more as I've tasted it. I still don't know that it would be my go-to.
You can't rate that dog one.
I'm not going to. I'm saying...
I mean, you can. You can do what you want. You're an empowered woman.
I can. No, it's a hush your mouth because of... It's really good, and it's really well done. It's not cock of the walk for me, because if it was my preferred flavor profile and what it is, it would be cock of the walk easily.
So which one of the three?
Wheated.
So of the three, this is your champion.
Yeah, that's my favorite. But again, personal preference.
Okay. Fair.
What are you ranking this one?
Well, Bandit over there wants us to hurry up and rank it because he's let us know about it. He wants some tensions. That's my dog. Just calm down. I mean, I'm going to go with Cock of the Walk. I'm going to go with Hush Your Mouth.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm going to go with Hush Your Mouth. I'm going to stick with it. The one that was the most unique of these offerings was the wheat whiskey. I would take either one of these.
So do you think
That's
this is a
mood
situation
dependent.
where
This
your
is
favorite
mood
depends
dependent.
on your mood? That's what I was going to
Yeah,
say.
it's mood
It
dependent.
depends on your mood.
If I want to feel the spice, the baking spice, a little more on my tongue, and this is a gradual heat up. If I'm more in the mood for oak, I'm going to drink less of it. I'm going to drink less of all of these because these are humdingers.
These are hard day whiskeys and bourbons. I'm glad we talked about the coffee, because the more I sip on this and think about it in a coffee standpoint, the more I'm kind of wrapping my head around the flavor profile.
But I don't know what percentage is going to ALS, but certainly they say that a portion of the proceeds will continue to support ALS. Good for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not every company does that.
And continues it for this long.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's some that have, and impressive. I'm very appreciative that we got to try it on the show. This is not,
Damien, thank you so much.
Yeah, this is not something this doesn't fit our normal bill. What we're normally looking for is what's in the shop and what you can get your hands on and what can you not get your hands on. And then what's a reasonable for a reasonable person with a reasonable job to afford and look for and to discover it. So this is cool. I mean, this is
really
the type
cool.
of thing that you go to a bourbon bar that specifies in.
Yeah, this is not
This is
something.
it.
This is not something you would even find at a really well stocked bar.
No,
You would need to be at a hoppy endings type
You've got to go
level.
to a bourbon bar to kind of experience.
I don't even know if I've seen this at Whiskey Kitchen.
To see this type of
It's a specialty product.
range, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds like we're doing an ad for him, but I'm only telling the truth. If you go into the shop, he's got more of these. I mean, these are from his house. These are not the ones that are in the shop. He's got more of these. But you're not going to be. The reality is that all of our viewers don't live in Raleigh, or they live in the Raleigh area. I'm encouraging you to go find a good bourbon bar in your area.
And sit down and talk to the proprietor.
Yeah. And
you will learn so much.
Yeah, find out who acquires the bourbon, how they acquire the bourbon, how if your state does a lottery even for the
Allocated stuff.
restaurants for the allocated stuff.
Yeah.
Find out what they have to do special orders of barrels. That varies from state to state. We've got to do something very different than, say, South Carolina, Tennessee, or Virginia. Talk about the challenges they have there. That's how you're going to learn about bourbon. And what you're going to find out is if that owner or that head bartender finds out you have that type of interest, he's going to start to recognize you, or she's going to start to recognize you, and she's going to be willing to have a discussion with you about all these different types of bourbons. And that's when you're going to find out, well, the four that you like all happen to come from MGP. And by the way, they follow this type of mash bill. And when they came in here, it's, there's 4 different labels, but these are unique. But you might want to steer away from this. But we've got this other thing coming in, and that's where this gets interesting.
It really is a community. And so we obviously encourage talking to people because both of us are pretty good at that.
So the Cock of the Walk is empty, so I'm going to pick the...
Which one are you picking?
I'm going to pick the straight.
I'm going to go with that too.
I'm going to spin it, and I'm going to say thank you once again to Damien and Lydia.
Yes, as always.
And, to those out there who are dedicating some of their time to a cause, represent to those folks that are out there doing that hard work. We appreciate it.
And hey, our comments are a place to throw that in there. Build a community and reach out. If you're doing something good in the world, let us know. We'd love to shout it out.
Absolutely.
All right, and on that note,
cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.